A chance encounter. In the bustling spaceport of Surfera, a kaleidoscope of alien species moved about, each engaged in their own business amidst the vibrant chaos. Among the crowd, a striking humanoid girl named Laia was a beacon of ethereal beauty. Her shimmering silver hair and mesmerizing amethyst eyes drew many gazes, but she remained a solitary figure. Laia's constant companion was a massive alien beast known as a Dran, resembling a Siberian tiger from Earth. With razor-sharp claws, gleaming fangs, and piercing emerald eyes, the Dran named Zion was a formidable presence. To Laia, Zion was a loyal friend and protector, but to everyone else, he was a terrifying monster. Wherever Laia went, Zion followed, and the sight of him often made potential admirers retreat in fear. As Laia wandered through the crowded spaceport, Zion padded silently by her side. Despite the beauty of the surroundings, Laia felt a pang of loneliness. She longed for someone to see past Zion's intimidating exterior and recognize the gentle soul within. Unbeknownst to her, this day would mark a turning point in her life. Sergeant Grayson Hamilton, a rugged human soldier with chiseled features and piercing blue eyes, strode purposefully through the spaceport. On a crucial mission to deliver intelligence to his superiors, he was focused on his task when a flash of silver caught his eye. Grayson turned and saw Laia standing just a few feet away, her beauty momentarily taking his breath away. But what truly captured his attention was Zion, the magnificent creature by her side. The Dran regarded Grayson with an appraising stare, its emerald eyes seeming to peer into his very soul. Without hesitation, Grayson approached the pair, a warm smile on his face. Laia tensed, expecting him to recoil in fear like the others. Instead, Grayson knelt before Zion and extended his hand. "Hey there, big fella," he murmured, his voice low and soothing. "Aren't you a handsome one?" Zion cocked its head, studying the human with a mix of curiosity and wariness. Slowly, the Dran leaned forward and sniffed Grayson's hand, its whiskers twitching. To Laia's utter astonishment, Zion nuzzled against Grayson's palm, a deep purr rumbling from its chest. Grayson chuckled, scratching behind Zion's ears as if it were a house cat. Laia stared in disbelief, her heart racing. In all her years, she had never seen anyone approach Zion with such fearlessness and gentleness. A strange warmth blossomed in her chest as she watched Grayson interact with her beloved companion. Sensing her gaze, Grayson looked up and met Laia's eyes. A jolt of electricity seemed to pass between them, and for a moment, the bustling spaceport faded away, leaving only the two of them. "I'm Grayson," he said, rising to his feet and extending his hand to her. "Grayson Hamilton." Laia hesitated for a heartbeat before placing her delicate hand in his. "Laia," she replied, her voice soft and melodic. "And this is Zion." Grayson's eyes sparkled with warmth. "It's a pleasure to meet you both." As they stood there, hands clasped and gazes locked, Laia felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Perhaps, just perhaps, she had finally found someone who could see beyond Zion's fearsome exterior and appreciate the bond they shared. Grayson glanced at the digital display on his wrist, his brow furrowing. "I'm afraid I have to go," he said, reluctance evident in his voice. "Duty calls." He released Laia's hand, his fingers lingering for a moment longer than necessary. Laia barely registered the loss of contact, her mind still reeling from the surreal encounter. "It was wonderful meeting you, Laia," Grayson said, his eyes holding hers. "And you, Zion," he added, giving the Dran a final scratch behind the ear. Zion let out a contented purr, leaning into Grayson's touch. Laia stared, her eyes wide with disbelief. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Grayson's smile widened, his blue eyes crinkling at the corners. "Perhaps our paths will cross again." Laia managed a nod, her voice still lost in the whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. With a final nod, Grayson turned and strode away, his broad shoulders disappearing into the crowd. Laia stood rooted to the spot, her heart pounding. She raised a trembling hand to her forehead, trying to process what had just happened. Zion nudged her other hand, its emerald eyes filled with concern. Laia glanced down at her companion, a shaky laugh escaping her lips. "Did that really just happen, Zion?" she whispered, her voice tinged with awe. "Did he really just?" She trailed off, unable to put into words the significance of the moment. In all her years, no one had ever approached Zion with such fearlessness and gentleness. No one had ever looked at Laia with such warmth and genuine interest. Laia took a deep, steadying breath, trying to calm the butterflies in her stomach. She looked in the direction Grayson had gone, a part of her longing to chase after him, to ask him 1,000 questions. But he was gone, and the moment had passed. Laia shook her head, a small disbelieving smile on her face. "Come on, Zion," she said, her voice still slightly breathless. "Let's go home." As they walked towards the spaceport's exit, Laia's mind raced with possibilities. She knew, with a certainty that defied logic, that her life had just changed forever. Though she couldn't explain it, she had a feeling that the rugged human soldier with the kind eyes and gentle touch would play a significant role in the chapters to come. An unexpected invitation. The days following their brief encounter at the spaceport were a whirlwind for Laia. Despite her best efforts, she found herself constantly thinking about Grayson Hamilton. His smile, the warmth in his eyes, and the way Zion had reacted to him replayed in her mind like a mesmerizing dream. Laia tried to focus on her daily routines, but everything seemed to pale in comparison to the memory of their meeting. Her usual activities felt like mere distractions, her thoughts always drifting back to the human soldier who had shown her and Zion such unexpected kindness. One afternoon, as Laia sat in her modest apartment, Zion sprawled comfortably beside her. A soft chime interrupted the silence. Laia glanced at the holographic communicator on her desk. To her surprise, it was a message from Grayson. She hesitated for a moment before activating the hologram. Grayson's face appeared, his blue eyes sparkling with warmth. "Hello, Laia," he said, his voice carrying a friendly tone. "I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to reach out and invite you to dinner. There's a wonderful place I know where we can talk more, and I'd love to hear about your world and share a bit about mine." Laia's heart skipped a beat. The invitation was both unexpected and thrilling. She glanced at Zion, who seemed to sense her excitement, and let out a contented purr. Laia smiled at her companion and then turned her attention back to the message. Grayson continued, "If you're interested, please let me know. I'll be at the Lunar Cafe on level 5 tonight at 7 p.m. I hope you can join me." Laia's mind raced as she considered the invitation. She had been so consumed by the encounter that she hadn't dared hope for a follow-up. But now Grayson's message offered a chance to explore what might have been a fleeting moment. She took a deep breath and composed her reply. "Hello, Grayson. I would be delighted to join you for dinner. Thank you for the invitation. I look forward to it." After sending her response, Laia felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness. She wanted to make a good impression, not only on Grayson, but also on Zion. The thought of her loyal companion meeting Grayson again brought a sense of comfort and reassurance. As the evening approached, Laia carefully selected an elegant outfit that balanced her alien heritage with a touch of human style. Her shimmering silver dress contrasted beautifully with her dark skin, and she chose a delicate translucent scarf that accentuated her ethereal beauty. After ensuring Zion was comfortably settled at home with enough food and water, Laia headed to the Lunar Cafe. The Lunar Cafe was a popular spot, known for its breathtaking view of the planet below and its diverse menu catering to various species. As Laia arrived, she marveled at the cafe's ambience: soft, ambient lighting, elegant decor, and a panoramic window that offered a mesmerizing view of the cosmos. Grayson was already there, seated at a table near the window. He looked up as Laia approached, and his face lit up with a genuine smile. "Laia, you made it," he exclaimed, rising to greet her. Laia's heart fluttered at the sight of him. "Hello, Grayson," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Thank you for the invitation. Grayson pulled out a chair for her, his eyes never leaving hers. "It's my pleasure. Please have a seat." As Laia settled into her chair, Grayson resumed his own seat, his gaze still warm and inviting. "How was your day?" he asked, his tone casual and friendly. Laia smiled, feeling a sense of ease in his presence. "It was good. I spent some time preparing for tonight. I was excited to see you again." Grayson's eyes twinkled with amusement. "I'm glad to hear that. I've been looking forward to this too." The conversation flowed naturally as they talked about their lives, their experiences, and their worlds. Grayson shared stories about his time as a soldier, his adventures across the galaxy, and the fascinating cultures he had encountered. Laia, in turn, spoke about her own planet, its customs, and the unique bond she shared with Zion. As they talked, Laia found herself drawn to Grayson's genuine curiosity and easygoing nature. His laughter was infectious, and his stories were both captivating and enlightening. She felt as though she was discovering a new side of herself through their conversation, one that embraced the possibility of connection and understanding. Throughout the evening, Grayson continued to show interest in Laia's world, asking thoughtful questions and expressing admiration for her resilience and strength. His attention made Laia feel valued and understood, a stark contrast to the isolation she often felt due to her unique circumstances. As the meal came to a close, Grayson leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smile on his face. "I have to say, this has been one of the most enjoyable evenings I've had in a long time." Laia blushed slightly, feeling a rush of warmth at his compliment. "I've enjoyed it too. It's nice to talk to someone who genuinely listens and cares." Grayson's expression softened, and he reached across the table, gently placing his hand over hers. "I'm glad to hear that. I feel the same way." Laia's heart skipped a beat at the contact. She looked down at their hands, then back up at Grayson's earnest face. The connection between them was undeniable, and she felt a sense of hope she hadn't experienced in a long time. As the evening drew to a close, Grayson walked Laia to the entrance of the cafe. They exchanged a warm hug, and Grayson's touch lingered for a moment longer than necessary. "I'd like to see you again, Laia," he said softly. "Perhaps we can explore more of the galaxy together." Laia's heart soared at his words. "I'd like that," she replied, her voice filled with hope. With a final smile and a promise to be in touch, Grayson departed, leaving Laia standing outside the cafe, her heart alight with excitement and anticipation. She looked up at the star-filled sky, feeling a newfound sense of possibility and wonder. As she made her way back to her apartment, Laia couldn't help but think that her encounter with Grayson was more than a mere coincidence. It felt like the beginning of something truly extraordinary, something that could change her life and the way she viewed the universe. A new beginning. Laia woke the next morning with a renewed sense of purpose. The dinner with Grayson had been a turning point, igniting a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. She went about her morning routine with a newfound energy, her thoughts continually drifting back to their conversation and the possibilities it hinted at. As she prepared for the day, Laia couldn't shake the feeling that her life was on the cusp of something significant. The way Grayson had looked at her, the warmth in his voice, and the genuine interest he had shown, it all pointed to a future brimming with potential. Zion, ever perceptive, noticed the change in Laia's demeanor. The feline-like alien stretched lazily and let out a soft, contented purr as Laia prepared his breakfast. "You must sense it too, don't you, Zion?" Laia said with a smile. "Things are looking up." With Zion fed and settled, Laia left her apartment and made her way to the spaceport. The bustling environment was familiar and comforting, but today it felt different. As she walked through the corridors, she found herself smiling at the passing faces, her mind filled with the possibilities that lay ahead. Her workday passed quickly, her colleagues' chatter and the hum of machinery blending into the background as she thought about Grayson and their future meetings. The universe seemed to align in a way that was both thrilling and comforting. By the time Laia's shift ended, she was eager to see Grayson again. They had agreed to meet at a small observatory on level 7, a place known for its serene atmosphere and panoramic views of distant stars. It was a location Grayson had suggested as a perfect setting for their next encounter. As she arrived at the observatory, Leia felt a wave of anticipation. The space was dimly lit, with large transparent panels offering an unobstructed view of the cosmic expanse. Soft, ambient music played in the background, adding to the atmosphere of tranquility. Grayson was already there, waiting by one of the observation decks. When he saw Leia, his face lit up with a smile that made her heart flutter. He greeted her with a warm embrace. "Hi, Leia. I'm glad you could make it." Leia returned the hug, feeling a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in a long time. "Hi, Grayson. Thank you for inviting me. This place is incredible." Grayson nodded, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I thought you might like it. The view of the stars here is mesmerizing, and it's the perfect place for us to talk." They settled by the observation deck, the vastness of space stretching out before them. The scene was breathtaking, with distant stars twinkling like diamonds against the dark velvet of the universe. Grayson looked at Leia with genuine curiosity. "So, tell me more about your world. I'd love to hear more about the culture and the people." Leia took a deep breath, feeling more comfortable with each passing moment. She began to share stories about her planet, its landscapes, its traditions, and the unique customs of her people. As she spoke, Grayson listened attentively, asking questions and expressing awe at the richness of her experiences. Grayson's responses were equally engaging. He shared tales of his travels, the different species he had encountered, and the various cultures he had learned about. The conversation flowed effortlessly, each story adding depth to their understanding of one another. As they talked, Leia found herself growing more and more comfortable around Grayson. His kindness and genuine interest made her feel valued and respected. For the first time in a long while, she felt as though she could truly be herself. As the evening wore on, the conversation turned more personal. Grayson opened up about his own challenges and the moments that had shaped him. Leia listened with empathy, finding common ground in their shared experiences of overcoming obstacles and finding hope in the face of adversity. "There's something remarkable about sharing these moments," Grayson said softly. "It makes me feel like I'm not alone in this vast universe." Leia nodded, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "I know what you mean. It's comforting to connect with someone who understands and cares." They continued to talk long into the night, their bond growing stronger with each shared story and heartfelt exchange. The observatory, with its serene ambience and stunning view, seemed to be the perfect backdrop for their deepening connection. As the evening drew to a close, Grayson took Leia's hand in his touch gentle and reassuring. "I'm really glad we met, Leia. I feel like there's so much more for us to explore together." Leia's heart swelled with emotion. "I feel the same way, Grayson. This evening has been truly special." They lingered by the observation deck, watching the stars as they slowly began to fade into the dawn. The experience had left Leia feeling hopeful and excited about the future. She knew that whatever lay ahead, it was bound to be an extraordinary journey. As they said their goodbyes, Grayson's smile was both warm and reassuring. "I'll be in touch soon. Until then, take care, Leia." Leia watched him leave, her heart full of hope and anticipation. She knew that the connection she had forged with Grayson was something truly special, and she was eager to see where it would lead. As she made her way back to her apartment, Leia felt a sense of peace and excitement. The universe had opened up in ways she had never imagined, and she was ready to embrace whatever came next. The unexpected revelation. Leia's life had taken on a new rhythm following her evening with Grayson. Each day seemed to carry a hint of promise, and the anticipation of their next meeting kept her buoyant. Yet, the universe had a way of surprising her, and the latest twist in her story was no exception. 2 days after their enchanting evening, Leia was at work, engrossed in her tasks, when her comms device beeped with an incoming message. She glanced at the screen, expecting a routine update, but the message was from Grayson. Her heart skipped a beat as she read it. "Hi, Leia. I hope you're doing well. I'd like to discuss something important with you. Could you meet me at the Orbital Cafe on level 12 tonight? It's quite urgent, thanks. Grayson. Laya's mind raced with curiosity and a hint of anxiety. What could be so urgent? She quickly finished her work and prepared for the evening. The Orbital Cafe was renowned for its stunning view of the city lights against the backdrop of the infinite cosmos. It was an elegant venue that matched the gravity of their conversation. Arriving at the cafe, Laya was greeted by the familiar, serene atmosphere. The place was softly lit, with floating tables and chairs that offered a panoramic view of the glittering cityscape. Grayson was already there, seated at a table near the window, looking more serious than usual. "Hi, Grayson," Laya said as she approached. "I received your message. Is everything all right?" Grayson looked up, his expression a mix of concern and resolve. "Hi, Laya. Please have a seat. There's something I need to discuss with you." As Laya settled into her chair, Grayson's demeanor made it clear that whatever he was about to reveal was significant. He took a deep breath and began. "Laya, I've been doing some research into the political climate and the various factions involved with the settlement projects," Grayson started. "Something has come to my attention that I think you should be aware of." Laya listened intently, sensing the gravity in Grayson's tone. "What's happened?" Grayson continued. "I've discovered that there are certain elements within the coalition that are not as transparent as they should be. There are covert operations and deals that could potentially disrupt the stability of our respective sectors. I've come across information that suggests there might be a plan to undermine the current agreements, and it involves parties we've previously considered allies." Laya's eyes widened. "That sounds serious. How do you know all this?" Grayson hesitated for a moment before answering. "I have access to some confidential reports and insider information. I've been investigating this for a while, trying to piece together the full picture. What I'm concerned about is that this information could put both of us at risk if it becomes public, or if the wrong people find out we're aware of it." Laya processed the information, her mind racing. "So, what should we do?" Grayson's gaze was intense. "I need your help. I believe we can work together to navigate this situation. We need to gather more evidence and understand the full scope of the plot before it's too late. I don't want to involve too many people until we're sure of what we're dealing with." Laya nodded, determination setting in. "I'm in. If this is as serious as you say, we need to act quickly." Grayson's expression softened, and a hint of relief appeared on his face. "Thank you, Laya. I knew I could count on you." They spent the next hour discussing their plan of action. Grayson outlined the key points of his findings and the next steps they needed to take. The urgency of their mission added a new layer to their partnership, intertwining their personal connection with a shared sense of purpose. As they finished their discussion, Laya felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The stakes were high, but she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with Grayson by her side. "Let's meet again tomorrow to review the evidence and decide on our next move," Grayson said, standing up. "In the meantime, be cautious. We don't want to alert anyone that we're onto something." Laya agreed, and they parted ways, each lost in their thoughts. The cafe's serene atmosphere contrasted sharply with the whirlwind of events unfolding in their lives. Returning to her apartment, Laya couldn't shake the feeling that their lives had been irrevocably changed. The adventure that had begun with a simple dinner with Grayson was now expanding into a complex web of intrigue and danger. As she prepared for bed, Laya's thoughts were filled with the enormity of their task and the possibilities it entailed. She knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but with Grayson's support and her own resolve, she felt ready to face whatever came next. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, and Laya was determined to uncover the truth, protect what was dear to her, and make a difference in the unfolding saga. The journey had just begun, and she was prepared to see it through, no matter where it led. The hidden threat. The next day dawned with a sense of anticipation and urgency. Laya and Grayson had agreed to meet again to continue their investigation into the covert operations threatening the stability of their sectors. Laya's mind buzzed with the information she had learned, and she was eager to delve deeper into the mystery. As she made her way to their agreed meeting spot, a discreet cafe tucked away in a quiet part of the city, Laya couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The sensation was subtle but persistent, a lingering unease that made her glance over her shoulder more than once. Shaking off the feeling, she pushed on, determined to focus on the task at hand. When Laya arrived at the cafe, Grayson was already there, seated at a corner table with a laptop open in front of him. His expression was focused, and he looked up with a nod as Laya approached. "Hi, Laya," he greeted. "Thanks for coming. I've got some new information for us to review." Laya took her seat, and Grayson began to share his latest findings. "I managed to access some additional reports and data that shed light on the groups involved in these covert operations. It seems like there are several factions with competing interests, and they're all vying for control over resources and influence within the coalition." He continued, pointing to the laptop screen. "These are the key players and their respective agendas. It's a tangled web of alliances and betrayals, and it's becoming clear that our sector could be a target for manipulation." Laya examined the screen, her eyes scanning the various names and connections. The complexity of the situation was daunting, but she felt a growing resolve to get to the bottom of it. "What's our next step?" Grayson leaned in, his tone serious. "We need to gather more concrete evidence. I've identified a few individuals who might be able to provide us with additional insights or confirm our suspicions. However, approaching them requires caution. If word gets out that we're investigating, we could put ourselves in danger." Laya nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "Who are these individuals, and how do we contact them?" Grayson outlined a plan. "There's a former coalition analyst who has been outspoken about corruption and might be willing to share what they know. There's also an independent journalist who's been investigating similar issues. Finally, we should consider reaching out to a trusted contact within the coalition who might have insider knowledge." As they discussed their strategy, Laya felt a growing sense of urgency. The situation was more complex than she had anticipated, and the stakes were higher. They needed to be meticulous in their approach and ensure that they didn't compromise their safety or the mission. After finalizing their plan, Laya and Grayson parted ways, each heading off to pursue their respective leads. Laya's first stop was the former analyst's residence, a modest apartment on the outskirts of the city. When she arrived, she found the building to be quiet and unassuming. The analyst, a middle-aged woman named Elara, lived on the third floor. Laya took a deep breath, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension, and rang the doorbell. Elara answered the door, her expression wary but curious. "Can I help you?" Laya introduced herself and explained the purpose of her visit. "I'm working with Grayson, and we've come across some troubling information regarding certain factions within the coalition. We were hoping you might be able to provide us with additional insights." Elara hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I've been keeping a low profile for a reason. The things I've seen and heard aren't something I take lightly. Come in, but we need to be discreet." Laya followed Elara inside, where they settled in a cozy living room. Elara began to share her knowledge, revealing details about various players and their hidden agendas. She spoke of secret meetings, backroom deals, and shady alliances that were working to destabilize the coalition. "The situation is worse than you might think," Elara said, her voice low. "There are factions within the coalition that are willing to go to extreme lengths to achieve their goals. They have connections everywhere and are always looking for opportunities to gain an upper hand." Laya listened intently, absorbing the information. "Is there anyone specific we should be aware of or any leads that might help us understand the full picture?" Elara nodded. "Yes, there's one person you should definitely look into. Her name is Rena, and she's been involved in several high-profile negotiations. She's known for her sharp intellect and her ability to influence outcomes. If anyone knows what's really going on, it's her." Laya made a mental note of the name. "Thank you for your help, Elara. This information is invaluable." As Laya left Elara's apartment, she felt a renewed sense of determination. She had a lead to follow and a better understanding of the complexities involved. The next step was to track down Rena and see what she could uncover. The day was slipping away, but Laya was not ready to rest. She headed to the independent journalist's office, hoping to gather more pieces of the puzzle. The journalist, a sharp-eyed woman named Zara, was known for her investigative prowess and had a reputation for uncovering hidden truths. When Laya arrived at Zara's office, she found the journalist in the middle of a bustling newsroom. Zara greeted her with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "You must be Laya. Grayson mentioned you'd be coming by. What can I do for you?" Laya briefed Zara on the situation, and Zara listened with growing interest. "It sounds like you're dealing with a complex situation. I've been looking into similar issues myself. If you have any specific questions or need help tracking down leads, let me know." The conversation with Zara proved to be fruitful. Zara shared her findings and offered to collaborate on certain aspects of the investigation. With her expertise and connections, Zara could provide additional insights that would be crucial in navigating the tangled web of intrigue. With the day coming to an end, Laya felt a sense of accomplishment. She had gathered valuable information and established key contacts that would aid in their mission. As she headed back to her apartment, she reflected on the growing complexity of their situation and the importance of their task. The hidden threat was more formidable than she had imagined, but Laya was ready to confront it. With Grayson's support and the new allies she had made, she felt confident that they could uncover the truth and protect the stability of their sector. As she prepared for another day of investigation, Laya's resolve was stronger than ever. The journey ahead would be challenging, but she was determined to see it through and make a difference in the unfolding saga. Unveiling the truth. The following day arrived with an air of anticipation. Laya felt a renewed sense of purpose after her conversations with Elara and Zara. With crucial leads in hand, she was ready to dive deeper into the investigation. Her first task was to follow up on the lead provided by Elara, Rena, the influential figure involved in high-profile negotiations. Laya had managed to track down Rena's office, a sleek, high-rise building that exuded power and prestige. The receptionist at the front desk was polite but firm, informing Laya that Rena was a busy executive with a packed schedule. Undeterred, Laya left her contact information and a brief message requesting a meeting with Rena. She knew that getting an appointment might be a challenge, but she was hopeful that Rena's reputation for being influential would make her receptive to discussing the unfolding crisis. Laya decided to spend the rest of the day following up on her conversation with Zara. Zara had mentioned a contact within the coalition who might have insider knowledge. Laya made her way to a discreet cafe where they had agreed to meet. When Laya arrived, she found Zara already seated at a table, her laptop open and a stack of documents spread out before her. Zara looked up and smiled as Laya approached. "Thanks for coming by," Zara said. "I've gathered some additional information that might be helpful. It seems there are several covert operations taking place simultaneously, and they're all interconnected. The key is understanding the broader picture and identifying the central players." Laya sat down and glanced over the documents Zara had compiled. "This is impressive. What's our next move?" Zara pointed to a map on the screen. "I've identified a few locations where clandestine meetings have been reported. These might be worth investigating. Also, I've managed to get in touch with the contact within the coalition. He's agreed to meet with us later today." Laya felt a surge of excitement. The contact could be the breakthrough they needed. "Where's the meeting taking place?" Zara provided the details, and Laya made her way to the designated location. The contact, a man named Drayton, was an experienced operative with deep connections within the coalition. He met Laya and Zara in a private room at a secure facility. Drayton was a middle-aged man with a stern demeanor, his eyes sharp and assessing. After a brief introduction, Laya and Zara laid out the situation, explaining their concerns and the information they had gathered so far. Drayton listened intently, nodding occasionally. When they finished, he leaned back and spoke. "You're dealing with a very intricate network. The factions involved are not only competing for power, but also manipulating events to destabilize key sectors. I've seen some troubling patterns, and it's clear that you're on the right track." He paused, his expression thoughtful. "There's one person who might have the answers you need. Her name is Aria. She's a high-ranking member of one of the factions and has been involved in many of the covert operations. If you can get in touch with her, you might uncover the full extent of the threat." Laia and Zora exchanged glances, both recognizing the significance of this lead. "How do we find her?" Laia asked. Drayton provided some guidance. "Aria moves in high circles, but she frequents certain social events and gatherings. If you can gain access to one of these events, you might be able to approach her." With this new lead, Laia and Zara thanked Drayton and left the facility. The next step was to identify an event where they could potentially encounter Aria. Zara suggested that they use their network to gain invitations to an upcoming diplomatic reception. The reception was set to take place in a few days, and Laia and Zara began preparing. They worked on their disguises and developed a strategy to approach Aria without arousing suspicion. The goal was to gather as much information as possible while remaining discreet. As the day of the reception arrived, Laia felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The event was being held in a grand hall, decorated with opulent displays and attended by many influential figures. Laia and Zara blended in with the crowd, their eyes scanning the room for any sign of Aria. Hours passed, and just as Laia was beginning to feel the strain of the event, she spotted a familiar face. Aria was engaged in a conversation with a group of diplomats. Her demeanor was confident, and she carried herself with an air of authority. Laia and Zara maneuvered their way through the crowd, making their way toward Aria. The crowd was dense, and the noise of conversations and music made it difficult to hear clearly. Laia's heart raced as they approached, and she tried to remain composed. When they were close enough, Laia took a deep breath and introduced herself to Aria. "Ms. Aria, it's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard a great deal about your work and the impact you've had within the coalition." Aria looked at Laia with a hint of curiosity. "And who might you be?" Laia offered a polite smile. "I'm Laia, and this is Zara. We're both very interested in the current developments within the coalition and the various factions at play. We were hoping to gain some insights into the situation." Aria's eyes narrowed slightly, and she studied Laia with a discerning gaze. "It's always interesting to meet individuals who are well-informed. What specifically are you interested in?" Laia maintained her composure and began to discuss the information they had gathered, carefully framing their questions to elicit valuable insights. Aria seemed intrigued but remained guarded, offering cryptic responses that hinted at deeper layers of the situation. As the conversation progressed, Laia and Zara managed to extract some useful information about Aria's connections and the broader scope of the operations. Aria's responses, though indirect, suggested that there were powerful forces at play, and the stakes were higher than they had initially realized. With the reception drawing to a close, Laia and Zara thanked Aria for her time and left the event, their minds racing with the implications of what they had learned. The information they had gathered painted a picture of a complex and dangerous web of manipulation. As they walked away from the reception, Laia felt a sense of both accomplishment and trepidation. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together, but the full extent of the threat remained elusive. With each step, she felt the weight of the responsibility growing heavier. The next move would be critical. Laia and Zara needed to piece together the information they had gathered and determine the best course of action. The investigation was far from over, and the path ahead promised to be filled with challenges and revelations. As Laia prepared for the next phase of their mission, she was resolute in her commitment to uncovering the truth and protecting the stability of their sector. The journey had only just begun, and she was ready to face whatever obstacles lay ahead. The final confrontation. The days following the reception were filled with intense preparations. Laia and Zara had reviewed all the information they had collected, piecing together the fragments to form a clearer picture of the ongoing manipulations and threats. The connections they had uncovered pointed to a critical moment, a pivotal confrontation that could either expose the truth or plunge their world into further chaos. Laia was determined to confront the masterminds behind the conspiracy. She and Zara decided that the best approach was to gather all the key players in one place, using the high-profile diplomatic event they had discovered as the perfect opportunity. It was an event where influential figures from across the sectors would be present, providing an ideal setting for a decisive confrontation. The day of the event arrived, and the venue was buzzing with activity. The grand hall was adorned with elegant decorations, and the atmosphere was both festive and tense. Laia and Zara navigated through the crowd, their eyes alert for any sign of the figures they sought to confront. Laia's focus was on Arya, whose role in the conspiracy had become increasingly clear. With the gathered information, Laia knew that Arya was at the heart of the manipulation, orchestrating events from the shadows. They needed to expose her and reveal the truth to the assembled dignitaries to prevent any further damage. As they mingled among the guests, Laia and Zara were approached by Drayton, who had managed to gain access to the event. He had been instrumental in their preparations and had valuable insights into the attendees. "Good to see you both here," Drayton said quietly. "I've been able to confirm that Arya is planning a significant announcement later tonight. It's likely that this will be her attempt to solidify her position and control." Laia nodded, her determination growing stronger. "We need to be ready to act when the moment comes. If we can expose her during the announcement, it will have a greater impact." As the evening progressed, the anticipation built. The hall was filled with conversations, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Laia and Zara remained vigilant, their eyes scanning the room for any sign of Arya's movement. The time for the announcement arrived. The lights dimmed slightly, and a hush fell over the crowd as Arya took the stage. She was dressed in a striking, sophisticated outfit, exuding confidence and authority. The crowd watched intently, eager to hear what she had to say. Laia and Zara positioned themselves strategically, ensuring they were close enough to take action, but not so close as to draw unnecessary attention. Arya began her speech, her voice smooth and persuasive. She spoke of unity, progress, and the bright future of their sectors. But beneath the surface, Laia could sense a hidden agenda. As Arya continued, she began to outline her vision for the future, which involved significant changes and power shifts. It was clear that her plan would consolidate power in a way that threatened the stability of the sectors. Laia knew it was time to act. With a quick nod to Zara, Laia stepped forward, interrupting Arya's speech. The hall fell silent, and all eyes turned to Laia. "Excuse me, Ms. Arya," Laia said, her voice steady and clear. "There are some important revelations that need to be made regarding your plans." Arya's expression shifted from surprise to annoyance. "And who might you be?" Laia didn't hesitate. "I'm Laia, and I've been investigating the recent events that have been unfolding. The truth about your manipulation and the hidden agendas behind your plans is about to be exposed." A murmur of confusion and curiosity spread through the crowd. Arya's demeanor hardened, and she shot a sharp glance at Laia. "This is preposterous. You have no evidence to support such claims." Before Arya could dismiss her further, Zara stepped forward, holding up a tablet with evidence of the manipulations and conspiracies they had uncovered. "Actually, we do have evidence. This information details the covert operations, the alliances you formed, and the plans you've been implementing." The crowd began to buzz with disbelief and intrigue as Zara presented the evidence. Laia could see Arya's composure slipping as the weight of the revelations sank in. The documentation and testimonies presented were undeniable, painting a clear picture of Arya's schemes. Drayton, who had been observing from the sidelines, approached the stage. "I can confirm the authenticity of this information. The coalition has been compromised, and Arya's actions have been detrimental to the stability of our sectors." The impact of the revelation was immediate. Arya supporters began to distance themselves, and the crowd's reaction shifted from shock to outrage. Laia and Zara had successfully exposed the conspiracy, but their work was not yet finished. Arya attempted to regain control, but the damage had been done. As the crowd continued to react, Laia and Zara made their way through the throng, ensuring that the information was disseminated and understood. The authorities were notified, and the necessary actions were taken to address the situation. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Laia and Zara debriefed with Drayton and other key figures. The exposure of the conspiracy had set the stage for significant changes and reforms. The sectors were beginning to recover from the manipulation, and the truth had brought a renewed sense of hope and determination. Laia felt a profound sense of accomplishment as she reflected on the journey. The investigation had been challenging, but the outcome was a testament to their perseverance and commitment. The stability of their world had been safeguarded, and the threat had been neutralized. As she and Zara prepared to move forward, Laia knew that their efforts had made a difference. The fight for truth and justice was ongoing, but they had taken a significant step in the right direction. The journey had tested their resolve, but it had also reaffirmed their belief in the power of integrity and determination. With the crisis behind them, Laia looked forward to the future with a renewed sense of purpose. The lessons learned and the allies gained would continue to guide them as they faced new challenges and opportunities. The journey had been arduous, but the resolution had been worth every effort. And so, as the dust settled and the world began to heal, Laia and Zara embraced the new chapter ahead, ready to face whatever came next with the same unwavering spirit that had seen them through the trials of their mission.